Illumination has made some of the weakest villains in animation, but also one of the most unexpectedly terrifying. And today, we're ranking all of them, from completely useless to actually dangerous. F tier, Carlos.
Too long have we labored under the yoke of the Bonnie's tyranny. For hell, no more!
First up, we have Carlos from Hop. This movie is a weird fever dream where a bunny wants to be a drummer, and Carlos is a chick who's tired of being second fiddle to a rabbit. Honestly, relatable, but the execution? Not so much. Easter Bunny named EB runs away from his responsibilities on Easter Island. Yes, that's a place in this movie and ends up crashing with a guy played by James Marsden, who is clearly there for the paycheck. It's essentially Alvin and the Chipmunks Easter themed, and nobody asked for it. Carlos is EB's second in command on Easter Island, and his entire plan is to overthrow the Easter Bunny and become the Easter chick. That's it. That's the plot. He wants to be in charge of Easter. Carlos spends most of the movie trying to stage a chick coup to take over Easter. He's basically a disgruntled middle manager who thinks he can do a better job than the CEO. His grand plan involves turning into a giant, grotesque half-bunny, half-chick hybrid. That looks like it belongs in a low-budget horror flick, not a kid's movie. He's annoying, his motivation is paper thin, and he's the villain of a movie most of us try to forget exists. The Bears.
Which one of you is Moon?
Hey, you can't just barge in here.
You know this guy?
Moving from a grumpy chick to some very angry Russian bears, we have the mobster bears from Sing. These guys are the muscle hired by a literal snail to collect a debt from Mike the Mouse. Sing is essentially American Idol with animals, and it's genuinely a lot of fun. Reese Witherspoon is a pig. Taron Egerton is a gorilla. Matthew McConaughey is a koala running a failing theater. It's chaotic, it works, and people loved it. But here's the thing. The villains of Sing are a gang of bears. They're a Russian mobster crew led by Sergei, and they exist purely to hunt down Mike the Mouse after he cheats them in a card game. They show up, they do some growling, they're menacing for about 4 minutes total, and then they're gone. They exist purely to provide a physical threat in a movie that's mostly about a singing competition. They get defeated by a glass of water? Well, technically a flooded theater. They're so one note. When your primary character trait is being a bear who is mad, you aren't exactly winning the Villain of the Year award. D tier, The Grinch. The most legendary addition to the holiday roster is The Grinch. He's a recluse from just north of Whoville who's obsessed with silence. Yes, you heard that right. He has a mountaintop lair, a mountain of garbage, and even uses a sewing machine to craft a DIY Santa suit to pull off the ultimate anti-holiday heist. The classic story has been told and retold, and it's iconic. The Grinch has a heart 2 sizes too small, lives a solitary life with his dog Max, and spends his days stewing in bitterness. He is a green, furry misanthrope who harbors a deep-seated hatred for the Who's joyful noise and seeks revenge on an entire town for being happy. Whether it's Boris Karloff's sinister narration or Jim Carrey's unhinged energy, the yellow eyes, the termite-infested smile, there's something there. His obsession with ruining Christmas is cynical and mean-spirited, which is the perfect vibe for a holiday antagonist. While the story spends time on the Who's relentless optimism, the Grinch steals the show by being a festive nightmare. He sneaks in, slinks like a snake, stuffs a whole tree up the chimney, and then it's almost over. The story tries to sell him as a monster, but he's mostly a guy with a really weird grudge against a song, Snowball.
Who are we? Who are we? We are the flushed pets.
Next, we have Snowball, the tiny bunny with a massive god complex. The secret life of pets is basically what do your pets do when you leave for work? And the answer, apparently, is that they have full emotional breakdowns and get into gang activity. Snowball is a fluffy white rabbit who leads an underground society of abandoned pets who hate their owners. He's voiced by Kevin Hart at absolute maximum Kevin Hart energy, which means he's screaming approximately 70% of the time. His whole thing is that he was abandoned by a magician, and now he wants to get back at all humans by building an army of disgruntled pets. And honestly, for the first half of the movie, Snowball is kinda great. He's unhinged and funny, he has charisma, and the idea of an adorable rabbit being secretly feral is a genuinely good comedic concept. Then, The movie sort of abandons his villain arc entirely. He does a complete personality flip, becomes a good guy, gets adopted by a little girl, and suddenly he's just sweet. All that revolutionary energy, completely gone. You can't build up an anarchist rabbit and then have him get adopted and call it a character arc. Come on. C tier, the chef. In the recent movie Migration, our family of ducks ends up in New York City and runs into the chef. He's the head of a high-end restaurant that specializes in, you guessed it, duck. Migration follows the Mallard family, an extremely anxious father duck, a mother duck who is eager for adventure, and their ducklings as they attempt to migrate from New England to Jamaica. They accidentally end up in New York City, where chaos ensues. The film's villain is a French chef who captures ducks to cook them, a man determined to make duck à l'orange. And you know what? As far as functional antagonists go, he works fine. He creates genuine stakes. The ducks are in real danger, the threat feels physical and urgent, and there's something darkly funny about the villain being a professional doing his job. He doesn't want world domination, he wants a good meal. There's a simplicity to that. This guy's terrifying in a very grounded way. He doesn't have superpowers or a giant robot. He has a really sharp knife and a professional obsession with cooking the protagonist. While he's a legitimate threat to our feathered friends, his lack of a voice or a deeper personality keeps him from climbing higher. Alawishus O'Hare.
Hey, Ted, right?
Then we have the king of corporate greed, Alawishus O'Hare. He lives in a world where nature is dead, and he's found a way to sell fresh air in plastic bottles. He's basically the ultimate capitalist nightmare. The Lorax movie is one of those adaptations that Dr. Seuss fans have a complicated relationship with, mostly because it added a whole new plot on top of the original story and turned it into a musical. Honestly, it's pretty fun. The animation is gorgeous. O'Hare literally sells bottled air because in Thneedville, the environment has been so completely destroyed that clean air is a commodity. He's short, he's vain, he has 2 enormous bodyguards, and his entire business model collapses the second someone plants a tree. So naturally, he does everything in his power to stop trees from being planted. O'Hare is great because he represents a real-world kind of evil. He's a tiny man with a giant ego and a bowl cut that should be illegal. He earns C tier because while his song Let It Die is a bop, he's ultimately a cowardly businessman. He relies entirely on his bodyguards and his money. Once the public turns on him, he's done. He's a classic love-to-hate character. He lacks the physical presence to be a top-tier threat. B tier, Belle Bottom.
Halloween was 4 months ago. You look stupid. Buzz off. Now, where's the boy?
Then there's Belle Bottom from Minions, The Rise of Gru, where a young Gru is desperate to prove his villainous mettle to the Vicious Six, the world's most elite group of bad guys. After their original leader, Wild Knuckles, is ousted in a ruthless betrayal, Belle Bottom steps up as the new, ultra-stylish mastermind. Armed with the Zodiac Stone, she doesn't just want to commit crimes, she wants to harness ancient mystical power to turn her crew into unstoppable, monstrous versions of the Chinese Zodiac. That leadership style alone tells you everything you need to know about Belle Bottom. She is pure, disco-era cool, and she carries that 1970s boss energy with a flair that makes her one of the most charismatic villains in the franchise. While others rely on brute force, Belle uses a mix of high-tech gadgets and absolute confidence to keep her team in line. Belle Bottom also earns major points for being the first villain to truly challenge Gru's perception of his idols. She represents the cold reality of the villainous world. It's competitive, it's cutthroat, and if you aren't bad enough, you're out. Seeing her transform into a giant fire-breathing dragon during the finale raises the stakes to a cosmic level, proving that beneath the sequins and the afro, she is a legitimate global threat. Her defeat is more than just a win for Gru, it's his first real step toward becoming the master of his own destiny. Balthazar Bratt. We can't talk about style without mentioning Balthazar Bratt. Despicable Me 3 is the one where Gru finds out he has a twin brother named Drew, who's rich, charming, and also wants to be a villain. And the two of them team up while Gru's trying to take down Bratt. Bratt is a former child actor who played an evil kid on a popular TV show in the 80s. got canceled when puberty hit, and then decided to actually become the villain he used to play on television. He's obsessed with the 80s. He dresses in a pink jacket with shoulder pads. He fights with a keytar. His weapon shoots pink bubblegum that traps people. He dances during battles. Michael Jackson's Bad plays whenever he shows up. Bratt is a blast to watch. He uses expanding bubblegum as a weapon and fights to a soundtrack of Michael Jackson and Van Halen. He is a perfect foil for Gru. He's what happens when someone refuses to grow up and has the genius level intellect to make growing up everyone else's problem. His gadgets are creative. His hideout is a giant robot version of himself, and he's pure, unadulterated fun.
A tier.
Scarlet Overkill.
Who are you, my knights in shining denim?
The world's first female supervillain, and she absolutely lives up to the title. The Minions prequel spin-off, which made an unconscionable amount of money, follows the Minions through history as they search for the most despicable boss they can find, eventually landing in 1960s London, where they meet Scarlet Overkill. She wears an incredible red dress. Scarlet's backstory is that she grew up poor and clawed her way to the top of the supervillain world through sheer force of personality and ambition. She recruits the Minions to steal the Queen of England's crown for her, because she wants to be queen, not ruler of the world. Queen of England. There's something weirdly grounded about that goal, and it makes her more compelling than someone who wants to blow up a city. What makes Scarlet work is Sandra Bullock's performance. Her villainy comes from a deep-seated need to be loved and admired, which makes her more than a cartoon baddie. She's ruthless, she's stylish, and she nearly succeeds in blowing up the Minions, which is a goal many parents can probably relate to. Jimmy Crystal.
You lied to me!
I didn't mean to. Okay, honestly, I really thought I could get him.
No one makes me look like a fool!
He is the high-stakes music mogul from Sing 2. This movie follows Buster Moon and the gang trying to make it big in Red Shore City, which is essentially Las Vegas for animals, by pitching a massive show to entertainment mogul Jimmy Crystal. Jimmy is a wolf, a rich, powerful, terrifying wolf in a perfectly tailored suit who runs the biggest venue in the city and does not take no for an answer. What makes Jimmy work is that he's a realistic kind of villain. He's not a mad scientist, he's not building a weapon, he's an extremely powerful man in the entertainment industry who uses that power to bully, threaten, and manipulate everyone around him. He's a perfectionist with a hair-trigger temper. When Buster Moon lies to him, Jimmy doesn't sue him. He tries to literally throw him off a building. He brings a genuine sense of danger to a movie about singing animals. He's cold, calculated, and powerful. The only thing holding him back is that his motivation is standard egomaniac. But man, does he play that role perfectly. S tier, Vector Perkins.
Hey, what are you girls doing back there?
Direction and magnitude. Oh yeah, Vector is the original rival in Despicable Me. The original is about Gru, the world's greatest supervillain, trying to steal the moon to reclaim his status after being upstaged by a younger, newer villain. That villain is Vector, Vector Perkins, real name Victor, son of the head of the Bank of Evil, with an energy that is impossible to fully describe, but I will try. Imagine if a guy who never had a real friend in his life got access to unlimited money and a weapons facility and decided to use it to try to be cool. Vector is not cool. Vector knows he's not cool, and his entire villain persona is an attempt to compensate for that. He wears an orange tracksuit, he lives in a giant cube-shaped fortress. His weapons include a piranha gun, a squid launcher, and a shrink ray. He talks about how dangerous he is constantly to anyone who will listen, in a voice that keeps cracking. Vector is, in fact, actually competent. He steals the shrink ray before Gru does. He outmaneuvers Gru repeatedly. He kidnaps 3 children to use as leverage. When it comes to actual villain execution, Vector gets results, which makes him genuinely threatening even while he's also genuinely hilarious. The other thing that makes Vector perfect is that he's Gru's equal and opposite. Gru is a villain with secret warmth. Vector is someone with advantages and resources who uses them with pettiness and insecurity. They're the same archetype from different angles, and their dynamic is what makes the first movie so satisfying. Vector ending up trapped on the moon is one of the most perfectly poetic villain endings in animation. Bowser.
A tough one, I see. Do princesses find him attractive?
And sitting at the very top of the throne is Bowser. I know, He's a Nintendo character, but Illumination's version of him is a masterpiece. He's a terrifying conqueror with a giant floating castle. He's also a hopeless romantic who writes power ballads about Princess Peach. If you somehow missed this one, the Super Mario Bros. Movie came out in 2023, made over $1.3 billion at the box office, and became the highest grossing video game movie of all time. It's a love letter to Nintendo. It's genuinely joyful. Bowser's motivation in this movie is extremely simple. He wants to marry Princess Peach. He's conquered kingdoms. He commands an enormous army. He has a fleet of airships. He possesses a superstar, which makes him effectively invincible. And he wants to use all of this power to impress a princess who has never once indicated any interest in him. It sounds like a joke, and it is. Jack Black plays it with such complete sincerity that it becomes something much more interesting. Bowser isn't a gag. He's genuinely infatuated, genuinely emotional, and genuinely terrifying all at the same time. The scene where he plays piano and sings a power ballad about Princess Peach, an original song called Peaches, is one of the most unexpectedly wonderful moments in any animated movie in recent years. It's funny, it's weirdly tender, and it tells you more about Bowser's character than any amount of villain monologuing ever could. Here's what seals S tier for Bowser. He's also actually scary. He destroys the Penguin Kingdom in the opening sequence. Like, he annihilates it completely, while looking completely composed about it. With the help of comics magic, he miniaturizes his enemies. He executes his own minions. He is powerful in a way that feels physical and real, not cartoony. The fact that the movie makes you laugh at him and fear him simultaneously is a genuinely difficult tonal achievement.